If it's your dream to become a great artist, then why not learn from the great masters themselves? Here's a pick of the best advice from the experts that I wish I knew when I started on my musical journey, and I hope it'll help you too. We're gonna look in this video with Tim Henson talking about having to stick through the tough times. It's not always gonna be easy, and as they say, you're gonna have to pay your dues. So he talks about going through 5 years of difficult time, but sometimes you have to pay your dues to get to the other side of success.
10 years ago, we were doing some of the most rough touring of our lives. We had just started touring that year right before the end of 2014. And so 2015, we were on tour. I think it was our fourth tour, and we were on tour with August Burns Shred. And funny enough, our photographer Ray, who's here with us today, who I haven't seen since that tour. So that's literally a 10-year thing. It was rough. We were talking the other day about how the general attitude around that time was just how are we supposed to do this when it is so difficult to live, And we had spent $1,500 on a van, on a vehicle to tour the country in. And it had broken down so many times that our spirits were broken, and we had just got into it. You know what I mean? And one of the things that he said that I said 10 years ago was man, I don't know if I can do this touring shit. I feel like we should just be putting out music videos and stuff on YouTube. And luckily, we stuck through it. It was 5 years of really, really, just I guess the trial of being on the road and getting your road trophies.
Dues.
Paying your dues. That's the word I'm looking for. Paying your dues.
Yeah, and all the stuff that I guess you don't expect. You get the van, you're like, oh, it started today, it should be fine.
Yeah.
And then you start getting stuck, and there's flat tires.
Exactly.
You're getting pulled over, and hey, what are you guys doing with all this guitar equipment?
Sleeping on the side of the road because it's 2 a.m. and nothing's open, and it's Sunday, and and when you're living like that, it's it's hard to take your next step in front of you, let alone think what is the next 10 years going to be like. You know what I mean? So I guess at that time, maybe a year before that, I probably had, before we had really started touring, and we were just we had just put out our first record, and it was all the possibilities were there. But then the next year happened. It was getting hit with reality. Yeah, I think that since then the attitude has shifted in 180 of just extreme positivity. Yeah. And I think that through that extreme positivity, we've been able to reach higher and higher heights. Okay. And so now the way that we live, it's a lot easier for me to picture what 10 years from now is going to be like.
Paying your dues can be a wake-up call. I had read...
And this advice from Tim Henson is one of my favorites, and something I wish I started doing from the very beginning. And that is using your ear and learning everything that you can from your ear. Now, if you're a music producer, I would even go even further and say try to recreate songs by ear and make it as close as you can to the original. This is really going to develop your talent. Let's hear from Tim himself.
All right, I'm going to look at the camera for this one.
Okay.
We sell our tablature. It's one of the things that helps us pay our bills. And I think it's a great tool and a great helper. But for the young guitar players who want to play guitar, learn it by ear. Just learn everything that you can by ear. And if you want to get the tab afterwards to double check, and maybe if there's something that you were struggling with that you couldn't just quite get, sure, do it, but learn it by ear. That is going to be the most important thing for any musician is to just be able to hear it and to play it.
This advice from Carlos Santana and Steve Vai talk about giving it your all. Give your whole being into what you're doing. Even if it means just playing one note, you gotta put life into it. You gotta go, as they say, inside the note. So whatever it is you do, try to give it your best. Try to breathe the breath into it. So let's see what they say about this.
One note: soul, heart, mind, body, and your vitals. One note. That is the most important ingredient for musicians to have. How to implement those 5 elements into one note. You know, I hear in Charlie Parker, I hear Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jaco Pastorius. I can tell you who in one note has all those elements going each time. That makes it very, very timeless and very essential to being alive and living.
Totally one with the note when it happens, because everything in you is in the note. And this one riff that goes... simple, stupid. It's profound to me. And I look forward every night to doing that. I don't know why, but the point I'm making is it's okay to get really, really personal about something that's just simple, that maybe nobody else even knows. Because what you end up discovering is they feel it.
This is advice that I love from Steve Vai. He talks about learning to notice inspiration, finding and capturing ideas. Don't let ideas slip. So whenever I go and I get into my music studio, I always record everything I do, because you never know when something special will happen. So if I'm playing around on the guitar, everything is being recorded, even when I'm doodling around, because I don't want to miss the opportunity to catch something special. Because if you try and go back and remember what you played, it doesn't sound the same as the first time that it happened. So let's listen to what great advice he's sharing about inspiration and capturing your ideas.
And that's all I had, was that much of it. But I knew there was a seed there. And I highly recommend that if you're a songwriter, you do everything you can whenever you feel a little bit of inspiration, something that's there, even if it's not great. You know, if you don't second guess yourself. Just capture it. Just capture the. I've got my iPhone. It's not with me right now, but I've got probably thousands of little snippets of ideas. Some of them are pure crap, but some of them turned into songs that I've worked on and released, such as For the Love of God, but that was recorded on a cassette player. Don't underestimate the power of your own inspiration, and be aware of it. Be on guard for it. Be receptive. When you're in that receptive mode, step 3, it's going to come. Are you ready to grab it? Or are you telling yourself, no, that's not it, that's not good enough, or whatever, you know? Just grab it somehow. And you never know. And that's how that melody came out. But there was something about it that I knew was kind of rich and special, because even when I was singing it, I felt very moved. Now, it moved me, and that's all I'm the only person I had to think about. And you're the only person you have to think about when you write something. Does it move you? I didn't know if it would move anybody else. As a matter of fact, when I finished it, the first person I played it for said, well, it's kind of long, it's kind of wanky, I don't know. You know, they had a tin ear. So if I would have taken their advice, that song wouldn't have appeared on the record.
Now, the following advice by Steve Vai is also really great, especially for guitar players, or if you're playing on piano. I've heard this with many, many great artists, especially jazz guitar players, and they say that whenever you're playing, sing it. Either sing what you're playing at the same time or play what you sing. This way, it comes from inside of you and it helps you develop your inner ear.
One of those moments where I was walking out of my studio and I saw an acoustic guitar sitting against the bed, and sometimes you just kind of know when something's going to happen, an inspiration for something. And I picked up the guitar and I played this chord and I just sang this melody, and luckily it resonated with me. So as soon as I feel like there's something that could be good there, I grab tape recorder and I document it. So I just started singing. So the melody was sung, it wasn't played. So it came from a different place than my fingers. And when you search for melodies in your inner ear as opposed to what your fingers play, you're going to get something different. Because a lot of times your fingers move with the memory, with finger memory, which is your favorite riffs, scales, stuff like that. But when you're forced to use your ear to create a melody, it's different. And it can be very lovely. In this case, I thought it came out very sweet. And it was it's like liberty, finding where the right chord is for the melody. I know I hit it right there, and then just naturally I went. I knew what the melody should be. I wasn't quite sure of the chords. There it is. Can't be anything else. That is the only thing it could be, and I knew it when I hit it. And you can find that you'll know it. You'll just know. If you're connected with your inner ear. Otherwise, you're meandering nowhere. And sometimes I went to wrong chords, but eventually the melody came out. And I sang it into a little cassette player, and it sat on the shelf for many years.
This is also amazing advice by Herman Lee from Dragon Force about being yourself and staying true to your own unique voice.
Really polyphia. I think one of the best things you can say to an artist is you're really you. You sound like you. One of the hardest things to do in music, and maybe it's the hardest thing to do, I don't know, is to have your own sound and your own voice. Out of millions and millions of guitar players out there, professional musicians, they've been doing it for many, many years, coming out with your own sound where the first thing you hear, if you're just like sitting in the car, you hear on the radio, well, you know what, is this polyphia? You're gonna ask that question immediately. Is that polyphia? And you know immediately, this is polyphia. Look, there's no doubt. And I'll tell you now, sooner or later, they're going to get so much hate to say, it all sounds the same. Oh my God, this sounds the same, just like the other song. Oh, it's just random notes, just sound as typical polyphia, the same. That's when the tough stuff start happening. Like, are you going to be able to maintain your true artistic view, or are you going to succumb to the pressure out there to change into something you're not? That's my opinion, of course. But having your own sound, I think is more important to be able to than be able to do a bunch of covers, doing covers, playing the other people's song. It's great fun, but this is it. Being yourself. Not everyone can be themselves. So unique, get suddenly so big, they're going to be really struggling on the next video. On the next song. Sorry, how do I phrase it? Sometimes when the band gets so big and they're so unique, they're instantly going to get a bunch of haters. Are they going to survive this one? I think to be a legend, to be the GOAT themselves, they will have to go through the tough times and come back out. But I hope they don't have to do that. They can just taking it to another level. Look, people are going to come up to polyphia and their main complaint is this. It all sounds the same. I can't tell the difference between this song and that song. I heard it all before in Dragon Force. Oh, everything's sound the same. It all sound the same. They do that. They sound the same. Guess what? This is what makes a band special, is they do their style. How do you think bands get recognized? Yeah, you listen to Dragon Force. It sounds like Dragon Force. What is it going to sound like? Hammerfall? No, it doesn't. Does it sound like Sabaton? No, it doesn't. Does it sound like Bon Jovi? No, it doesn't sound like them. It sounds like us. We don't try to make a compilation album. Look, I tell you, these guys are super smart in Polyphia. They're not just great musicians, they're smart. They know what they're doing. They have their thing they're going for and they're sticking to it.
Now, this is great advice and a great method for finding melodies or ideas that have, like Steve I says, some juice or some ideas that stick. So what he would do a guitar improvisation session, and he would just solo and solo, and he would record it, and then during the solo he would try and find certain ideas that really stick or resonate, that are different than just his regular soloing, things that really stick out. And then what he does is he would edit out all the different parts of the solo. So there's something special here that sticks out, he'll edit it out, something special here, and then he'll collect all these ideas and stitch them together, and then he would learn how to play this compilation of ideas that he discovered, and he wrote a whole solo that made him very successful using this method. So be on guard and notice which ideas sound special. So let's hear it.
Here's a great technique I would recommend to anybody that really wants to invent new, fresh, unique things in their musical guitar voice. And I do this all the time. It's my favorite thing to do. I take a vamp like this, like For the Love of God. I recently did it on a new track and came out with some really interesting things. And I just soloed over it for quite a long period of time, like an hour, 2 hours, for a couple of days. And then I listen back and I try to find things that have like a little juice in them, you know, that have a little bit of they got it like an energy that's kind of cool. That's different. And then I grab that and I work on it and I develop it into something. And next thing you know, you have a new unique thing for your vocabulary. And then you string them together and you got something that's just totally different for you. And that's what I did with this song. It was slow, kind of at first, listening to each section and playing it until something came out that wasn't just a jam solo, you know what I mean? Just like a repetition of my previous riffs. It was a jam solo to a degree, but it was looking for new stuff. So once I got that, then I recorded each section and focused on making each section right. And each section had a riff in it that was a little bit different than what I would normally do. But then at the end, when the song was done, I listened to it, and it sounded pieced together. You know, it sounded like one section pieced together, another section pieced together. So I knew what I needed to do was learn it all and make it natural, and then just record it. So that's what I did. I learned basic outline of these unique little riffs. And then I got them to the point where they just felt natural. And then I just did the solo. And I think it was 2 or 3 takes, and then I chopped it together, or comped it together back then, as they say. And that's how the song came about.
So what Michael Jackson here says, study the greats. Okay, this is great advice. And I think this kind of goes back to learning things by ear. When you learn things by ear, I think subconsciously what happens is you're actually programming that music into your system. If you just learn by notes, it's not going deep inside of you. It's going from your eyes to your fingers. But when you learn by ear and you have to work and earn your way to figure out the melody, I think it starts to reprogram your mindset, reprogram how you work musically. And I noticed when I started to focus on playing things by ear and learning things from the masters, my intuitive playing became better. The melodies that I started to develop myself started to become better. So another thing about studying is, he says, to make it like a science. So I actually made a video where I show you how they use classical music theory in modern pop music. So this is great things you can do something like this. You can go watch that video, but basically take songs, look for patterns in them, study the architecture of songs, see how deep you can take your understanding. The deeper your understanding, the more success you're going to have.
So list the few things that could be helpful to someone breaking into the music business.
Believe in yourself, study the greats and become greater, and be a scientist. Dissect. No matter what. I mean, I don't care if the whole world is against you or tease you or say you're not going to make it. Believe in yourself. No matter what.
No matter what.
Some of the greatest men that have made a mark on this world were treated like that. You know, you're not going to do it. You're not going to get anywhere. They laughed at the Wright brothers. They laughed at Thomas Edison. They laughed at Walt Disney. They made jokes of Henry Ford. They said he was ignorant. He didn't have a college degree because he dropped out of school. Disney dropped out of school. They even took Ford to court to prove his intelligence. That's how far they went. Yeah. And these are men that shaped and changed our culture, our customs, the way we live, the way we do things.
This is great advice on creating new sounds and novelty. Our ears and our mind wants novelty. So success and technology kind of go hand by hand. Even if you look at the times from the Beatles, they would always try and create new sounds. They would try to change the drum set somehow so that their sound becomes original and it's something that you've never heard before. You hear many artists do the same. One example that really resonates with me that I remember is for the video game Doom. What the composer did is he actually took and recorded a sample of a chainsaw, and he used that sample to create a new synth sound that later he layered with the guitar sounds. So try to be innovative and see what ways you can engineer the sounds and give it a new sound, because a lot of times when an artist becomes successful, it's because they're bringing something new that no one else has done, and that comes with music production and sounds used too. It's the first artist to develop a new musical style. Usually involves a new type of sound that hasn't been heard before, and then everyone else starts to copy that sound, kind of like Skrillex and dubstep. And you see this trend happening all the time in electronic music. Someone figures out how to create a certain type of sound, a certain type of instrument electronically, and then everyone else starts to follow it. And there's lots of different trends that happen, like future bass, dubstep. Certain sounds have been used over and over again, like the Reese bass. So try to be innovative with the sound.
Michael taught me, I never forget this crazy story. Michael calls me and he says, "Why can't we create new sounds?" I said, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Someone created a drum, right? Someone created a piano. Why can't we create the next instrument?" Now you gotta think about this. This is a guy 40 years old who has literally done everything that you can think of, but still hungry enough to say, "I want to create an instrument." It's crazy.
What does something like that do to you?
Challenges me creatively. I went to a local junkyard and I started gathering trash cans and different things, and I began to hit on them to try to find sounds. And Michael told me to, though. Michael said, "Go out in the field." That was his term. He used to always say, "Go out in the field and get sounds. Don't do like everybody else and go to a store and buy equipment." He said, "Go out to the field and get sounds." So I went out in the field and got sounds.
I like to take sounds and put them on the microscope and just talk about how we want to manipulate the character of in so.
So in this advice, Michael Jackson talks about taking yourself out of the formula and let the song write itself. Sometimes we get in our own way. So deadmau5 talks about this too, how he works from like, he starts in the evening, like 9 p.m., and he'll work all the way up until 7 in the morning. But what he says, the reason to do this is eventually the mind becomes tired and he stops overthinking, and then ideas start to naturally flow. So you kind of want to enter a meditative state, and you want to get the mind out of the way. So I even think that practicing meditation will help you get more in the zone. And it's not about forcing something. You hear this, actually many artists talk about this. So you can't force a song and make it happen. It has to be basically the right timing, and you have to allow it to happen. And this is what Michael Jackson talks about. I hear Zed talking about this. I hear a lot about lots of artists talking about this. But allowing music to happen doesn't mean being lazy and just not working on your craft and just thinking, I will only write whenever I feel the inspiration come. I think you have to be working a lot, putting in a lot of hours, but you have to be on guard when the inspiration comes. And this also ties into another point that Michael says, which is intention. You know, you set an intention. I want to create a good song. Don't be specific on the style, and set the intention. I want a really cool, funky bass line, and let it go. Let that intention go. You don't force yourself to create a funky bass line, but see if the inspiration will come to you. And then when it comes to you, you got to capture it. But like we talked before, if your ear is not trained, you're not going to be able to hold on to that idea, because you never know when that idea is going to happen to you. And we talked about recording your ideas. So you need to have a good ear to be able to capture it. And then you have to somehow record it, be able to transfer that idea from your ear, either record it through singing or record it through an instrument. And then you'll be able to capture that idea. So this advice that we hear, they all kind of link in together.
What I meant was, a song creates itself. I'm just the source through which it comes. It all creates itself. When a song comes to me, I'm hearing the strings, I'm hearing the bass, I'm hearing the drums, I'm hearing everything comes as a package. It's like catching a leaf that falls from a tree. It's the most spiritual, beautiful thing that can ever happen. And sometimes I just get on my knees and I pray to God out of thankfulness that it happened, that it came to me. And that's what I'm saying. Let it create itself, because it's trying to create itself. Like I said before, I'm just the source through which they come. And it's a beautiful thing. It's very spiritual. It's like standing under a tree and letting a leaf fall and trying to catch it. It's that beautiful. And what I do is, it comes into my head. I could be walking along, on a road, or I could be sitting on a bench at Disneyland or something, eating peanuts, and there it is, it's in my head. Or I could be in the shower, or I can wake up, like when I did when I wrote We Are the World, and there the song is. It's right in my head, the entire composition. When I'm working, though, I don't think I'm influenced by a lot of the music today. I pretty much create what I think is in my heart. Very original. I try to be as original as possible. I don't say, okay, I'm going to make this a great R&B song or a great pop. I just want to make a great song.
How do you write a song?
How do I write a song? Well,
You don't
if
have
I
a
sat
pen in
down
your
at this
hand and you
piano,
don't try. What would happen?
if I sat here and played some chords, whatever, and say, I'm going to write the best song I've ever written, nothing happens. Something in the heavens has to say, look, this is the time that this is going to be laid on you, and this is when I want you to have it. Now, I remember when I wrote Billie Jean, I was riding in my car down Ventura Boulevard. All I said to myself beforehand, I want to write a song with a great bass hook, you know, and and I just let it go, really. And then several days later, you know, you know, the whole
Where did
thing,
that come from?
From above.
So,
It really did.
okay, you were singing the bass line. Sing that again, and then what happened? How did you get the other instrumentation and the composition? How did it work?
See, the thing is, artists seem to get in the way of the music. Get out of the way of the music. You know, don't write the music. Let the music write itself.
The dance as well?
Yeah, same thing.
So if you study a lot of songwriters, they come up with a melody first. Now, everyone has a different process, but this is something I see a lot with top songwriters. They mumble words when they're coming up with a melody, and then after, so you see this with Michael Jackson, Sia, you see this with Freddie Mercury, a lot of great artists. You see this with Max Martin, who's one of the top, you see this with Paul McCartney. So Paul McCartney and Max Martin, they're the top two artists who have the most number one hits of all time. And they come up with a melody first, and then they fill up the words to fit into the melody, because it's the melody that people remember the most.
You were singing some lyrics, but not others.
Yes.
Why was that?
Because certain words come into your head at a certain time that are fitting for the melody. Certain words come with the melody at the same time that it's created. You know, heal the world. I mean, I didn't think about it. It just came. Make it a better place. So it came with the melody. Heal the world. And I thought about it. Wow, that's nice. Heal the world. Let's heal our planet.
You know what I see. Balancing you and me like a diamond in the sky. Come on, you like the Tabadavasi. Come on, you see like Connie, like a diamond in the sky. You and me, oh, I can't stop feeling for you. Sign away, sign away. I can see all the way. I can't stop feeling for you. I'm away from a lonely line away.
And I don't have footage for this piece of advice, and this will be the last piece of advice, but it comes from a classical guitarist called Norbert Kraft, and I can't find the video anymore. But what it says is, you need to find the reason you do something. Why did you fall in love with creating art, playing music, whatever it is, piano, guitar, singing? Because hard times will come by, and you will be at a point at a crossroads where you will want to give up. And so this is his advice on not giving up. He says, find the why. Find the reason. Why is it you're doing this? Why did you fall in love with it in the first place? Is it because you just enjoy? You have to find, it's different for every single person. Does it give you some sort of spiritual connection? Do you like the creativity aspect of it, discovering new things? Whatever it is, you need to really find the one reason that really drew you into your craft, and always come back to it. Once you find that one reason, every time you're doing your music session, go and practice that reason. If it's learning something new, make sure you always go back and you learn something new, because sometimes It's not just about following your passion, but it's also following your passion and doing it in a way that's passionate for you. Because you can do something that you love and fall out of it because you're stopped doing it in a way that you love doing it. So Tim Henson talks about this, how he started with the violin when he was 4 years old, but he fell out of love with the violin because it became too rigid and strict and wasn't fun anymore. Then when he picked up the guitar, it wasn't so formal and he was allowed to mess around with it. It wasn't strict. He was allowed to have fun with it. He was allowed to come up with compositions. So if you're doing your craft because you like writing, creating something, stick to doing that. If you like doing it because it gives you discipline, stick to that. So figure out what is the why, the reason, and then stick to it, and then you're gonna have lots of fun and you'll never think about giving up on it. So I hope all this piece of advice have been useful to you and is going to help you on your musical journey. Is there any other advice that you yourself have heard from other musicians or that you figured out yourself that helped you on your musical journey? I'm interested to hear. Please share in the comments and please remember to like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great time on your musical journey.